and welcome to Empowerment Radio, the podcast for empowerment coaching. I'm Adrienne Elise. The title of today's podcast is called Rising to the Occasion. So we're talking about our world and how intense it is and how messed up it is. And this is our personal life, our collective reality. Things are just really weird right now. And this podcast is about are you ready to rise to the occasion? Because this world wants to beat us down, and we're all feeling it. And so what's really going on here? What is the point? Why are we even in this existence? We live in a world that's continually being poisoned. I mean, poisonous materials being sprayed in the air, and genetically modified foods that rats in the laboratory cannot survive on. We're being accidentally injected with disease through vaccinations, as well as heavy metals, and who knows what else. There's fluoride in the water, completely dumbing us down, calcifying our pineal gland. And we have forces and energies on the planet that are focused and committed to violence and terrorism and fear. We live in an economic system that is based on scarcity and poverty. We have to buy our electricity when that's the biggest lie there is, keeping us in survival mode in this Babylonian money magic system. And everybody's just kind of trying to survive, cut off from the truth of who we really are as extensions, creations, a part of source energy. That's everything. What created everything. What we see, what we don't see, there's a force. A creative force of the universe that is who we are and what we're made from. And yet, this world seems to be bent at every turn and trying to keep us from feeling this feeling of joy, of hope, of connection, and accessing this power, this free energy that's available in our world and in our very own body. And, it's working. People are being held down. People are feeling hopeless. There's a lot of powerful indigo and crystal souls on the planet right now who are kind of like, get me out of here. What's going on? I didn't sign up for this. I don't want to be a part, and I can't handle it anymore. These souls are very sensitive to collective energy and to what's going on, what's really going on in the world. And there's so many hidden lies and horrible things that are allowed to continue. And it's getting incredibly uncomfortable for sensitive souls to be on the planet, and it's time to make a change. We're coming to this end point, and we can all feel it. And so what's going on for us individually is huge karmic blooms. So it's like, we've got all this kind of stuff working against us in our world, keeping us from, it's just to be able to maintain a connection with source and a peace and a levity and hope. It takes a lot of energy. I mean, you need to focus your whole life, and that's a beautiful, beautiful thing if you can do that. Little by little, reorganizing your life to prioritize that self-care that keeps you in connection and gives yourself what you need. It's a huge challenge because everything works against it. And so we're all feeling this. We're all feeling this pressure, this disconnect. Maybe a lot of people don't even remember what it feels like to feel connected, to feel like they could just live their life. This downtrodden energy is like programming, and the microwave technology and our electromagnetic field and the cell phone towers and all of this energy in our world, the grid. And the grid is telling us, keeping our vibration low. I mean, it's a deliberate point of it. It's not a side effect. You say, oh, well, we really love our technology, so we want to keep all these things. And it's like, no, we don't actually need, there's technology available that doesn't need to actually hurt us or the planet. And it's being kept from us. And this more archaic version of transmission, energetic transmission that we use for communication and technology is damaging. And it's like, it just takes a lot. The cool thing about this is that our energetic field, we have such a powerful energetic field, and we can protect ourselves from anything. And actually, like, as you grow your electromagnetic field, you can connect with other people around you that are learning to do this as well. And when you join your electromagnetic field together, you can actually, affect your whole community or your town. And I kind of seen this vision of like, the world is kind of going in this direction. And we have this idea that somehow somebody needs to come save us and kind of get rid of the bad guys and change the direction of the planet. And what I keep seeing is like these little pocket communities that decide they're going off grid. And maybe that means off grid literally at some point, and cut the wires and cut the connections, but that these communities of conscious people are awakening and basically being like, we're going to maintain our own energetic field. And this is our village, and this is our world, and this is the way it's going to be here. And we're not going to give in to terror, and we're not going to give in to violence, and we're not going to give in to scarcity and fear. We're going to take care of each other. We're going to create an energetic field. And so these kind of dome-like energy field communities start to kind of pop up and claim back the way we want to live, the way Mother Earth wants to live, the true human and Gaia codes that are here in our living, breathing Earth. And so, we're in quite a process right now. And right now, we're at a place where we don't have the solution. We're not seeing the solutions. We've been completely cut off from the solutions. And that's a big part of the problem of why, until we understand and are told about the technology that's available to us in this world, we're going to be controlled by it. That's just kind of the way it is. As long as we're in the dark about the truth of technology, that same technology is going to be used to control us. So we're kind of on the edge of this information needing to come out into the public, and it will over time. But a lot of us are kind of like, wow, what are we doing in the meantime? Like, this is hopeless, And then we're each individually having these karmic blooms where not just the world feels like it's working against us, but our life. And that we try to move forward in all these different ways, and it feels like all these forces. And this is kind of an interesting and confusing thing that happens when you step on a consciousness path, when you step on a spiritual path, when you want to awaken to the true self, to who you really are, and have a spiritual awakening. Often, you're opening yourself up to a massive karmic bloom. You're opening yourself up to finding what is in the way. And it can be a little frustrating because it's like, wait a minute, I made a commitment to myself. I'm doing the right thing. I want to open up. I want to be free. I want to love. I want to heal. And now life is just taking a big crap on me, So with this world that we live in right now and this karmic bloom of stuff coming out of the collective and our past lives, it just feels like, it can feel like everything is working against. You know, and it kind of is. The forces are all working against our spiritual evolution. And so what's the point? Can we win against these forces? Like, what is the point? Like, why are we even here? Why are we even bothering? So many indigo souls just feel like, you know, beam me up, Scotty, take me home. Like, this planet is whack. But, you know, the thing that I've seen about indigo souls and crystal souls is that, you know, the reason that you're here on the planet is because you really, really, really wanted to be here. If you didn't really, really, really want to be here, have a deep soul desire to incarnate in this time on planet Earth, it would not be possible for you to be here. So when we're feeling like we don't want to be here anymore, then something's seriously wrong, because it took such a powerful force to manifest and incarnate into this world. And this has been shown to me through the intuitive sessions again and again. And so what's the point? Why? Why would you say yes to this? Why would you say yes to putting yourself through all of this? Or did you say yes? Part of the issue here is that this world continues to tell us what's important. And this is all about what we can see with our eyes, the manifested world. And that's the point of existence. The point of existence is to succeed, to have accomplishments, to have achievements, to have a pile of things, to have a nice house, a car, support your family. That's all beautiful. But, you know, we don't get to take that stuff with us. And we're so much bigger and so much more and so much more, so permanent and big and huge and eternal and immortal. And this is just one narrow experience, one lifetime of many, many lifetimes and experiences. And yet we're spending all of our energy, all of our time, and all of our focus on creating more material things that die. And so it's almost like the world wants us to buy into the fact that that's all we are. And that's the point of existence. It's to accomplish, to, you know, have lots of things, and but when you know there's something more out there, this is where a lot of the, you know, this type of despair, this esoteric type of soul despair that the indigo soul often feels, that actually indicates and validates the type of soul that you are. Because the souls that are on the planet right now that they're not interested, they don't want to know, they don't care about this wider, greater existence beyond this lifetime, then they can be happy in this world and just kind of live their lives. But for those souls that know this is not all there is, that this is not the whole story, we're being told like 0.5% of the truth of who we are, it can feel really, really oppressive. But then we have to go back to this question. Why? Why would we put ourselves through this? Some part, you know, you've got to know that you're not just a victim of this world. Like, some part of you said yes. Some part of you chose this experience as the next part of your evolution as a soul. Now, this leads us to an opportunity in our life to begin to see all these things that are happening to us, working against us, as an opportunity. I mean, and this has been a hard one for me, you know, and I find myself being frustrated with my higher self and be like, why did you say yes to this? How is this serving me to go through this horrible experience of Earth evolution? Because sometimes it looks like that. It's all because they don't want us to see how beautiful it really is. the power and the beauty of this experience of being conscious of itself, incarnated in a physical body, in a physical world. Amazing. And that is kind of the first step to begin to see everything that's happening in your life, in this world, all these horrible things that are happening, as an opportunity. So the ancient alchemists went by a conceptual way of looking at the world, and kind of that so above, so below. And, if we look at this so above, so below, it's like, okay, well, what's in the cosmos is manifested in the physical, and what's in the physical is what's in the cosmos. So this physical reality is a mirror of the cosmic reality. Now, when we look at this from our perspective of our individual self, it's kind of like this: what's within is without, and what's without is within. And it's kind of a hard one, because it means that everything out there that we reject, that we hate, that we wish wasn't there, all the violence, all the pain, all the suffering, somehow it's within as well. So this is actually where we start to take our power back, because we can adjust. So really, whatever's going on out there in the world that I don't like, I can adjust it from inside of me. Well, if you are consciousness, you're a fractal consciousness, you're made from consciousness, you have access to all of consciousness within you. So, we can also talk about this in terms of susceptibility. And why there are these people, them, a few of them maybe on the planet. I would call them enlightened, where they can stay in their bubble of light, whatever's going on in the world or around them, and it's a beautiful thing. But often indigo souls feel like they don't deserve that. And this is the tricky thing about that deep desire to come to planet Earth, to be a part of this evolution. That was necessary for you to get here. But there's also karmic entanglement with this. This is why there's this karmic bloom, because it's karma, a feeling of responsibility, that got you that desire to incarnate on planet Earth. And so this feeling of responsibility makes indigo souls and crystal souls feel guilty or bad about being happy when other people are suffering. And so here we are. We have a whole bunch of enlightened souls that have gone through many, many evolutions, are of a higher dimensional energy, incarnated into this lower dimension to be a part of this shift, and stuck in the wheel of samsara, stuck in the wheel of karmic suffering, because these indigo souls feel responsible for some reason. This is programmed into your reality. A feeling that it's up to you to fix it. And, what if that way of fixing it has to do with cleaning up your own consciousness, your own susceptibility? So this is a law of the physical world, and you can kind of see this manifested in the study of classical homeopathy, and this idea of the way that they describe susceptibility to disease. And so when we have an epidemic going on, not everybody gets it. Not everybody gets sick. And why? And it's called susceptibility. So you have to have a vibrational resonance in your being first, be able to contract the disease. So we all are having a vibrational resonance inside our being, because we're part of this collective consciousness that is allowing this disease. And how do we change the susceptibility? How do we change our consciousness to say no more? And this is the karmic bloom that's happening. So can you see everything in your life that's happening as an opportunity to change your frequency, your vibration, your susceptibility, to rise. And that's where we get to this thing we're taught, and of this, that we're supposed to survive and survive well and try to create accomplishments and create things. And actually, that's not the point of why we're here. We're not actually going through this experience to just create things, material things. They don't even really exist. So why are we here? We're here to raise our consciousness. So that is the title of this podcast, Rising to the Occasion. What's happening to us is, and if you can see this on the whole planet, all of these forces pushing, holding down the human evolution, of spiritual evolution, of ascension. And what if all of these forces, what if our higher self said yes to this experience, because all of these forces are actually pushing us to break free of all of it, pushing us to evolve, pushing us into raising our consciousness, into changing our susceptibility and changing our collective consciousness. So, this is coming to a place of being like, okay, this is really messed up. And a lot of times, when you're having a karmic bloom, shit's falling apart in your life, and you're having to totally reevaluate who you are and what's the point and why, who are you anyway? We get so attached to our personality, our identity in this particular lifetime. And when we have these big karmic blooms that come with spiritual awakening, we tend to have our whole world break down. We don't even know who we are. This is a good thing, but it sucks while it's happening. It feels like you're going to die. And there is a part of you dying. This is the false part of you, that materialistically created personality, identity, self. I see this as like a big brain that is out in the cosmos, or it's kind of like we're all connected into this mainframe brain telling us how to think, telling us how to feel, telling us what we should do next. And we want to learn to think for ourselves. And once we start going through this and down into this rabbit hole, and you have to come to this point where you're like, okay, apparently my higher self has a plan. Apparently there's something bigger that I don't understand. And this is manifested in this reality that everything seems to work against. So the more you open to spiritual awakening, the more things begin to feel like they're working against you. The more karmic bloom comes up, the more stuff shows itself for you to use as tools to raise your consciousness. And so everything will work against us until we realize why. So we've got to drop this ego personality, this idea of who we are, why we're here, and what we're here for, and start using every opportunity as this trusting in the plan, our higher self. We're here to raise our consciousness. Because, all those accomplishments we talked about, all that material wealth, all the things we work for in this lifetime, you don't get to take it with you. And you die and you leave this body, you don't actually die. Your consciousness continues. And what you do get to take with you is your soul growth, is your soul gifts, is what you've learned as a soul spirit. This is invisible. It doesn't have anything to do with the type of house we live in or the type of car that we drive. So what's happening to us is pushing us into this rise in consciousness. I mean, I truly believe when I tap into my higher self, that's what we're here for. And so we get to this point where we got to just drop all this idea of why we thought we were here and drop this identity, this attachment to the identity of what we're going to accomplish and who we're going to be and people like us or don't like us. And start using everything that happens, seeing everything that happens as an opportunity. That actually everything that's happening, even the collective BS that's going on, actually is giving us clues and messages to the great riddle of life. They're forcing us to rise to the occasion. And that's why it's so uncomfortable right now. Because we're at this point where it's almost like individually humans are deciding whether they want to take the next step in consciousness and rise to the occasion, or if they want to stay asleep. And it's like, well, supposedly we live in this free will universe, so we all have to decide for ourselves whether we're ready or not. And it's, it's like just in this karmic path we talked about, it's much easier to stay asleep, for sure. And just live your life and just keep your blinders on and be an ostrich and put your head in the sand and not face the realities of this world. But once you have awakened, you can't go back to sleep. Once you've decided, you made that commitment, you know this is what you're here for, there's no turning back. And then you're in the thick of it. And your ego death is happening, and your karmic bloom is happening, and your whole world seems like it's falling apart because all of those things are not who you really are. And who you really are is your soul growth, your experiences, the way you meet these experiences, the way you rise to the occasion. What is the occasion? The occasion is Earth evolution. And supposedly this Earth evolution, what we're trying to do is throw off these negative forces, right? Set the planet and humanity free from this artificial intelligence, from this programming, from this groupthink, from this control energy that's keeping us in the dark about the truth of who we really are and our origins and the technology that's available to us. And the word on this cosmic street is that what is happening here on planet Earth is actually going to affect galaxy after galaxy, because us removing these forces from the planet, and that goes hand in hand with our rise in consciousness, right? So really it's our rise in consciousness that removes the forces, and that's kind of a tricky thing, because we're kind of programmed to think, well, we got to get rid of this negative, and then we can raise our consciousness, and it's actually the other way around. Our consciousness rises, we drop the load, we drop the stories, the vibration of the earth increases. Every child that's being born on the earth right now is a crystal child. New to the earth, it feels like these souls are like brand new, old souls, but new to earth evolution, and this purity and this love and this light. Every child being born is raising the vibrational energy, the consciousness level of this planet. So this is kind of a good way to look at it and be like, okay, I'm changing my susceptibility. I'm raising my consciousness. That's what's allowing the negative, the dark side, the entity energy, the control from my own consciousness to leave. I don't have to get rid of that for the light to come in. I'm going to let the light come in, and all that's going to fall away, because that's what's happening on the planet. We're becoming to this point where it's like we've had these tragedy experiences, but it's quite clear that a lot of these tragedy experiences have been supported by control energies on the planet. Terrorism might come to the truth that that's all a big lie, because I can feel in the readings, in the energy, in the consciousness, our whole planet is changing. And we are not having tolerance for violence in the way that we did. And it's funny because the media and everything is telling us that it's more and more violent, it's more and more crazy. And unfortunately, the people who are committing these violent acts are mind controlled. And so, we're all kind of mind controlled with all these things going on right now. And so this is a war of consciousness in our own consciousness. Inside of our own brain is where we do this healing, where we open to the light, where we rise to the occasion, where we let our ego personality and our attachments to who we thought we were and our karmic bloom, let all that stuff happen so we can change our susceptibility and rise to the occasion. The occasion is that the earth is rising in its consciousness and the control energies are dropping off, falling off, and the earth sets itself free and also sets free this whole section of the omniverse of all these galaxies affected by what we're doing here, by what you're willing to do in your own psychological mind, in your own cleansing, your own healing of your susceptibility to the shadow, to the darkness. And they want to keep feeding us the shadow and keep feeding us the darkness. And this is the world. This is who you are. This is this. And it's not true. And so can you rise? Can we rise to the occasion? And it feels so good. Just take a deep breath and be like, whoa, okay, some part of me said yes to this. This is a crazy experience, but I'm going to take it one opportunity at a time. And I am going to allow my world to break down, my consciousness to shift. Because the occasion is earth evolution. The occasion is spiritual evolution, individually and collectively. And that's the whole point of it. So can you be the one who will rise? Who won't compromise your true self anymore, ever again? The truth of who you are that lives and dies and lives and dies and lives and dies and doesn't ever go anywhere is right and free and pure and true, no matter what they told you. And your true self cannot be held prisoner. Your true self, you gotta trust, it's connected to that higher self, that part of you that said, yes, let's go into this crazy, mechanicalized, strange, programmed reality where they try to tell us the opposite of what's true every day. And every day we rise a little more to the occasion. And we use every opportunity. We see the bigger picture, and more light comes in. And more you demonstrate the truth of this light. And more you understand the bigger picture, and you feel the power of this earth evolution. And you feel your deepest soul gratitude and desire to be here, to go through this shift, to drop your karmic load, to release yourself from this wheel of suffering of this earth evolution, and at the same time free humanity, free consciousness, free galaxies upon galaxies by rising to the occasion and allowing every experience in your life to be about that. Not about what's not happening the way you wanted it to happen, what's being taken from you, what's working against you, what's being robbed from you, what part of yourself has been kept in prison. Because our true self cannot be imprisoned. And so we take each of these confining, difficult experiences in our individual and collective life, and we rise. And together we rise, and together we amplify that movement. And together we realize what an amazing opportunity we have here in this crazy, sick world to change it through changing our own susceptibility to this dark story that's not true. And together, we rise to the occasion of this earth evolution. And we allow the light of consciousness to live in our heart and in our life. And together we amplify this experience and bring your town, your neighborhood, your community along with you into this bubble of light, into the truth of who we really are and why we really came here. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this podcast, Empowerment Radio, the podcast of empowerment coaching. Empowerment coaching is here when you are ready to feel like you are really living and you're really using those soul gifts, doing what you're really here to do. Shine your light. So thank you so much for joining me. I look forward to next time. Until then, it's Adrienne Elise. Namaste.